It's called weed.
The
Hey,
tux.
hey, the couch smelled weird. I mean, does everyone have to smoke weed to deal with it? I like smoking weed because it's making me stupid. The idea of making yourself stupid on purpose is funny. Air is weird. I feel like a joke someone made about Eddie Vedder writing pro-life on his arm on MTV. I wonder if anybody else thinks it's really funny that I'm smoking weed at 6:57 a.m. in my car on the way to work in the same way that I do. I guess I hate myself as a really funny joke. The car smelled weird. Weed makes me feel awkward in a way that if I didn't feel awkward, I would feel weird for not feeling awkward. Is it funny that I'm always uncomfortable? I think that's funny. I think it's funny to not care about anything. Is it fucked up that I don't want any children? Kids are fucked up. I want to give my parents $1 million. Would that make them happy? I want to be a window. Is everything weird when you smoke weed? Is everything weed? It's funny. Everything is weird, right? Bye.
This is kind of educational. Okay, cool. So you should check us out next month.
Here we are. Not going anywhere. It's 4:20. Like 4:30. We've been here for 4 hours. I know. Okay,
This is gonna calculate you don't invest in it.
I loved her. That was my OK Cupid date, actually. I got nervous. So, this one's called Deal With It. Okay, he told her he'd be right back, and he didn't grab a coat. He walked on the sidewalk. He saw an ant. He pointed down at the ant and said, "Don't piss me off." He walked away from the ant. He stood in front of an elevator inside of a hospital. He walked to the staircase and climbed up to the 3rd floor. He began to crawl. He crawled into the bed of a terminally ill patient. He thought it would be nice if his name was John. He held John tight. He told John he felt beautiful. He told John that he was beautiful. He picked up the television and threw himself out the window. He should have taken the elevator. He walked by a store that was closed and stopped in front of the dark store display. He stared at a mannequin. He touched the pane of glass that separated them. He started at the top of the mannequin's head. "We are alone." He didn't make eye contact with the mannequin as his greasy hand slid down the glass. "We are alone." He smudged the glass with a trail of intimacy. He was face down in front of the mannequin. "I am alone." He looked for the ocean. He couldn't find it. He wasn't wearing a coat. As he stood up, he reached out to the night. He touched the dark. He wanted to be close to nothing. He asked what its problem was. He told it just to deal with it. He walked up to his front door. Before he opened it, he looked at a pile of leaves under a tree in his yard and asked, "Are you happy now?" He climbed back into bed. He didn't have to take his coat off. She said, "I love you." He said, "Yeah." Shut up. Shut up. This next one I'm going to read is an excerpt from something I wrote with someone a while ago that I think is real cool. So this is in the middle of it. I've never been to Paris. Let's just go to Paris. I've always had this affinity towards Paris. I know, me too. They looked at each other. Their eyes locked. They were loaded. I'm gonna Google it, just see how much airfare would be. That seems fun, but just to see. But it wasn't just to see. They both knew that was the most real she could make their life together in Paris the most real. Her brain quickly projected a black and white moving image of her and him as a we, walking down a vague cobblestone road, smiling to themselves about things that finally weren't themselves. Their hands barely grazed with each separate step, but they may as well have been living inside of each other. Her projection of their life as a we was a grainy black and white reel. Really? That made everything suddenly seem really generic, then stupid, then boring, and her attempt at thinking their real was real made her really realize how not real their real or any of it was. She couldn't tell if it mattered or not anymore. Their real as a we would never be really real. How do we get to Paris with no money into Google? So if we never obtain visas, find a job at some church from a Craigslist ad, and exclusively eat carrots, we're good to leave right now. She started throwing everything she owned out of the window while he laughed hysterically on her bed. Even as they threw her bed out the window, he laughed hysterically. She jumped out of the window and landed next to him on the bed below. They both began and continued laughing hysterically. The same sun that hit her while they were walking around as a wee in Paris warmed the side of her face as they lay on her mattress in the dirt at the bottom of her apartment building. She propped her left leg on top of his and casually laid her head in between his neck and shoulder. She felt uncomfortable for still feeling comfortable. She tensed up when she knew he was looking at her. They should have never walked around together in Paris or on the internet. Fuck. They kissed. Fuck. They couldn't look at each other without accepting that things weren't capable of changing, so they started laughing again. They touched and swallowed themselves inside of themselves. She felt like she knew what Siamese twins felt like. Then she thought about them being attached at the brain, and that made her laugh out loud. He smiled because he knew exactly what she was thinking about. And even if it wasn't true, it was now hers, and nobody, not even he, could take that away from her. They started taking their clothes off. When they got down to their underwear, they knelt in front of each other and stopped kissing, and he leaned backwards and he just looked at her. His eyes moved up and down the entire length, width, girth, circumference, longitude, area of her body. She might as well have been bleeding out in front of him. His eyes widened, and he placed a hand over his mouth, and she watched a part of her escape from the space between his fingers. Nobody had ever looked at her that way, because he was looking at her, and nobody was him looking at her. Her insides felt like they were bubbling inside of a microwave that had been turned on for 1,000,000 days. He grabbed her with urgency. He knew if he wasted any more time, she would turn back into a ghost and float away. She tore his guts out. He tore her guts out. They put each other's guts back inside of each other. She collected the sweat from his body and began drinking it. He ripped a chunk out of her hair. He ripped a chunk of her hair out and broke off a part of her skull. She squeezed the small of his back as hard as she could as he buried his secrets inside of her brain. She smashed a hole in his armpit with her face and started to feel high the further she crawled in. He reached in the hole and pulled her out by the back of her head. You are beautiful. This is what beautiful is. I don't even know how something could be this beautiful. He continued pulling her out of the hole in his armpit. I'll miss you. Don't leave. I need you always to be around. Always be around, please, please. Please don't ever not be around. Let's just go. Just touch me. We need to go. Just touch me now. We have to go now. Come on, we have to just go. We have to leave right now. Please hurry up. Right now, I'm yours. Please hurry up and shut up. Just shut up. We have to go right now. We just have to go right now. Come on, we have to go. I'll always be just yours. I have to go. They'll never have Paris, but they'll always have that supermarket parking lot in Fredericksburg, Texas.